Good morning, friends. Amanda here for Everyone's Living, and I am obviously coming to you from a different location than normal. I am in our middle child's bedroom that we use as a nursery with our newest little addition here. And I thought that I would take this opportunity to introduce you guys. We have a lot of new viewers, and I've gained these viewers over the course of my pregnancy. So everyone's gotten to see the growth of my belly as it has progressed. And you've kind of been there on that journey. And we did not know the sex of our child. We have two older boys already, and we did not find out the sex of this child. We also did not find out the sex of our first child. Cole is the only one that we knew was going to be a boy. So we made a surprise the first time, found out the second time, and made the third time a surprise too. But real quickly before I introduce you, I just wanted to give a quick little recap of my pregnancy and the delivery of this child. So this, like I said, is our third child. And both of my previous pregnancies have been totally complication free. I was 30 when I had Hunter and 32 when I had Cole, and now I'm 35. And both of their pregnancies were super easy peasy. Hunter's delivery was pretty long, extensive, and somewhat traumatic. Just because it took so freaking long for him to come out, and I was in active labor for 26 hours. With Cole, but everything worked out fine. We were both totally fine. But I think just, normal first time pregnancy things, it just took forever. Cole was a totally uncomplicated pregnancy, and with him, and I was induced with both of my previous pregnancies as well. Hunter was almost 2 weeks late, and Cole was a week late. With Hunter, I was chemically induced with lots of Pitocin and Cervidil and Cytotec and all sorts of things to progress labor. Cole, they popped my water in the morning. I progressed, kind of hit a wall. Then they started giving me they gave me just like a little bit of Pitocin, I think like 2 of Pitocin. And then once I got the Pitocin, I ended up getting an epidural, and within 45 minutes of getting an epidural, he was born. And I laughed him out because I was totally numb and I didn't even know I was like having contractions. With this one, I wouldn't say I had any real complications necessarily. At my 20-week ultrasound, we found out that I had a partial Previa, which means that my placenta was partially on my cervix. And what that can mean is that if it stays there, I could have bleeding at any point. And if you have an actual if I just had a partial Previa, so only like a portion of the placenta was over just like a little bit of my cervix. if your placenta is totally covering your cervix, it's really kind of dangerous because you could bleed out at any moment, and it's a pretty high risk. But I just had a partial previa, and as the baby grew, the placenta then did move higher, and I was totally in the clear. So I had the partial previa for about 6 weeks, I think, and then it resolved. And then at 32 weeks, because of my advanced maternal age, because I'm 35, at 35, a woman becomes advanced maternal age. And so you get lots of non-stress tests. So I went in and got the belly monitors, the bands, to monitor both contractions, monitor my uterus for contractions, and then monitor the baby to see how the baby is tolerating their environment, basically. And at one, I also had to get extra ultrasounds. And at one of those extra ultrasounds at 32 weeks, we found out that I had what's referred to as poly, which is excessive amniotic fluid. So the placenta obviously encapsulates the baby, and you have amniotic fluid in there. But one of the things that makes someone 35 and older at risk, putting them, that's why they start to label you, is that your placenta just doesn't work as efficiently at an advanced maternal age. And so your placenta should be filtering in and out your amniotic fluid and regulating how much fluid is inside of the placenta. And mine stopped doing that at 32 weeks, or stopped doing it as efficiently. So instead of filtering out that excess amniotic fluid, it just continued to grow and swell like a water balloon. So baby was fine. But the placenta was just growing like a water balloon. So baby was also just kind of suspended in a huge water balloon, and my belly was extra, extra large. I was measuring 3 weeks ahead of my gestation. So at 32 weeks, I was measuring, 35, 36 weeks. So when I delivered, I was measuring, 42 weeks, because I was so large and so full, which really, having the poly was just a discomfort to me. The baby was totally fine. It doesn't harm the baby. It just makes mom super, super uncomfortable because your body runs out of room. You can only displace your organs so much. I was short of breath. My hips hurt. Like everything was so displaced that I was super, super uncomfortable. But you can't like drain any of it off or anything like that. So per medical advice and the recommendation for someone that is advanced maternal age, is that you deliver at 39 weeks. The feeling is that baby is do better out than in at 39 weeks. And because my placenta wasn't performing tip top and doing exactly what it should have been doing. I was also, because of the excess fluid, I was more prone to have spontaneous rupture. So the thinking was that I was going to go early. That's why I packed the go bag and things like that. Ended up not needing that. And for a third time, I was induced. So on March 7th, at 39 weeks and 1 day, we went into the hospital to get my third induction. And we checked in at 7 o'clock in the morning. And my water was broken at 7:53 in the morning. And for the past 7 weeks, since I was diagnosed with the poly, my OB was saying, never travel without lots and lots of blankets. Be prepared when your water breaks. It's gonna flood your house. Like, she was like putting like the fear of God into me that it was just going to create like the biggest mess because there was just so much fluid. And when she went to go pop my water, I was like, and she was sitting at the edge of my bed, or at the end of my bed. And I was like, are you sure you want to sit there? If this is gonna like gush out? And she's like, no, the baby's head actually dropped down and I don't think that much is gonna come out. I was hoping that a lot would come out because I was just so uncomfortable with so much extra fluid, so much pressure. So she popped my bag and some fluid came out, but I didn't get the instant relief that I was hoping for. I was still very full, and I would say just like a normal amount of fluid came out. And I was like, well, that was very anticlimactic. I was really hoping for something spectacular and a little bit of relief. So my bag was broken at 7:53 in the morning. And what I like to do is I like to walk. So I get a cordless baby monitor, which the nurses hate because it goes in and out and it does not track the baby very well, which I understand is a problem and they always want to see it, but I like to be mobile. I also like to go in the shower and things like that. So I got the cordless monitor and I went and walked the halls, and I only got like maybe 2 rounds of the hall before I started having contractions. And when I would have a contraction and the baby would move, I would gush more fluid because all that fluid is still in there, and every time that the baby reacted to the contractions and move a little bit, it would free up a little bit more of that fluid. I basically had to stop walking the halls because I was just, no matter how much I tried to pad myself or things like that, there was just too much fluid coming out, and I was not about to make the cleaning service busy all day. So that was a bummer. So I ended up staying in my room and just kind of walking around the room and sitting on a yoga ball. And it was ridiculous, the amount of fluid that was just, it would just randomly pour out of me. I had never experienced anything like that. But again, I progressed, and at some point, again, my body stopped progressing. At that point, I decided that it would be best to just get Pitocin to really kickstart my body back into progressing, because I was sitting at 4 centimeters, which I went in at 2, and I was sitting at 4 centimeters for hours and hours and hours, and not having any progress. I wasn't even really that uncomfortable with the contractions. Like, I was handling them totally fine. They weren't painful or anything like that. And I wasn't getting any further. And I didn't want to have him at 2 o'clock in the morning. Because it just makes, when I had Hunter, I had him at 2 o'clock in the morning, 2:25 in the morning, after laboring for 26 hours. And he was a surprise. And by the time he came out, Mike and I were both so exhausted and just so happy to have a baby that we forgot to even check the sex of him. We had all the nurses screaming at us, "What is it? What is it?" And we were like, "What?" "It's a baby." And we were like, "Oh, I totally forgot. We don't know what it is." And we had to like lift his leg and be like, "Oh, hey, it's a boy." We were just so exhausted, and like the excitement of finding out his sex was kind of lost on us because we were just exhausted. And I didn't want to do that again. So I just decided I would get the Pitocin and get the epidural, so that my body would relax, because every time I get Pitocin, my body tenses up and I can't progress again. So I got the Pitocin and got the epidural, and I was expecting that once I got both of those things, that things would just pick up really fast and the baby would be delivered. And I got the epidural around 5 o'clock, I think, or 4 o'clock, maybe around 4 o'clock in the afternoon. And I was expecting to have the baby by 5, and that did not happen. And I was feeling a little discouraged because, again, I wasn't feeling like a whole lot was happening. And I wanted to progress. And then, you know, they were checking me, and she's like, "You're still at 4, you're still at 4, you're still at 4. And then she finally came in at like 6 o'clock and checked me again. And she's like, "Oh, okay, well now you're at 6. And I'm like, okay, it's a little bit of progress, but nothing really. Like, I was expecting to jump up and be ready to start pushing. So feeling pretty discouraged. Then shift change came at 7 o'clock for the nurses. And my new nurse came in and she checked me, and she's like, "Oh, okay, well now you're at 8. And I was like, "Oh, okay, great. Like, we're almost at 10. We're getting close." And she positioned me on the bed, flipped me over on the other side, you know, doing all the things that are supposed to help progress you. And she's like, you know, let me know if you start feeling any pressure. And I was like, okay. So she walked out, and within like 5 minutes, I started feeling pressure. And I was like, "Hey, Mike, I think you need to call her back. This is pressure that's not going away." So she came in and she checked me, and she's like, "Yeah, you know, you're right. You're ready to push." So she called the doctor, and the doctor said, "Okay, we'll start having her push. I'm sitting at the front desk, you know, like, I'm right here when you guys are ready." So we started to push, and I would do 3 pushes during each contraction. And we did that twice for the next 2 contractions. I did 3 pushes per contraction. And on the third contraction, I thought about telling her, hey, you better go call the doctor because I was feeling a lot of pressure. But I didn't say anything. And the third contraction came and she goes, okay, start to push. And I had a mirror there so I could watch. And I could see the baby's head come flying out. And the nurse put her hand over it and stopped the baby. And the baby's head is crowning. I can see the entire baby's head. And we don't have any extra nurses. We don't have the doctor. We don't have anything. She's like, don't push, stop. Oh my God. And it was, you guys, it was so much pressure. I was squeezing Mike because it was so much pressure because the baby just wanted to come out. So she calls him, everybody comes running in, and the baby was born exactly 12 hours to the minute from when my bag was broken. The baby was born at 7:53 p.m. And I did not even have to push. I just had to, because I was trying to clench because no one was ready to catch this child. And once I just relaxed, the baby came flying out. And it was a quite climactic ending of that. I went from like 0 to 60 in a snap. And our third child was born. Here we go. And here is our sweet little baby boy. This is Carter Paul. And we are just absolutely loving him to death. His brothers love him so, so much. They're so sweet to him. And as I predicted, it was another boy. The boy gene. I'm definitely a boy mom. Boys run strong in this family. Like I've mentioned before, Mike, my husband, is one of 3 boys. My dad is one of 3 boys. I'm the only girl in my family. So we're a pretty boy-centric family on both sides. And I didn't have a super strong feeling, but I was like, odds are it's another boy. And I was right. But this baby boy has first of all, he was born with actual hair. Both my other boys were bald when they were born. And I was bald when I was born. And I was bald until I was 2 years old. And that's kind of how Cole was too. He was bald until he was about 2, and now he's growing like a mullet. This boy was born with hair, and it's like a light blonde brown hair. We'll see if he keeps it, and we'll see if it changes any colors. But he is a wonderful little baby boy, and he sleeps pretty good. I can get a 4-hour sleep out of him overnight, which is really, really appreciated. 4 hours feels really nice when it's uninterrupted. Much better than with Hunter. He woke up every 2 hours for the entire first year of his life. That was painful. But yeah, like I said, his brothers love him. They sing to him. If he cries, they love to sing Twinkle Twinkle Little Star to him. It's really, really sweet. And he is now 2.5 weeks old. He'll be 3 weeks on Monday. I think this video will be coming out this weekend, on Saturday. That's my plan. But he's growing great. We just went and got a checkup on Monday, and he was 8 pounds 4 ounces, and 21 inches long, and he's just growing great. But you guys are gonna see him a lot. I know I've been doing a lot of cooking videos lately, but that's just kind of what I've been doing while he's been a newborn, in between his naps and things like that. But it's a very, very busy time for us right now with seed starting. I've started a bunch of my cole crops, and I still have to start all of my summer crops. I'm just trying to get things done when I can. And honestly, I have the gardening that I have done, I have not brought my camera with me because I've just wanted to have quiet time to mommy all by herself, and B, I know that the time is going to be short because I have to feed him every 2 to 3 hours. So I just want to get out there and do it. But I'm going to be wearing this baby a lot, and you're going to be seeing him a lot of baby wearing with him, as I get my garden going and doing all of the normal spring things. But as promised, I said I would introduce you guys to the baby when I had some time, and now seemed to be a good time to do that. So he is our newest little bear cub. And the newest addition to our den, and you guys will be seeing a lot of him. So thanks for stopping by today, and we will catch you on the next one. Thank you guys for stopping by today and joining in on our journey here at Bare Bones Living. We'll catch you on the next one.